And then few more his achievements are like he is also director of Genetic Health and Research Center Nasik. GHRC is the Genetic Healthcare Center providing counseling, diagnostic, and prenatal genetic healthcare services in the state of Maharashtra for last 17 years. Dr. Chopra is also Director of Medical Education and Research Foundation Nasik. MERF is the committed for the production of medical educational models for medical students, colleges, and schools for making real and virtual teaching learning easy and interesting. Dr. Chopra is also founder and president of Down Syndrome Care Association India. DSCA is the NGO committed for the empowerment of the individual with Down syndrome and their families. Currently, the 300 families are supported through this activity. And I've seen this personally, and doctor is taking so much effort from his own, he's finding his own time apart from his practice and even monetary involvement also. He is also secretary of Indian Society for Training Development. He is authored two books for medical students and two for public. Uh, Publishes 11 publications in the area of genetics in national and international journals. Member of editorial board of four international journals. Sorry, and there are a couple of noteworthy awards received so far. So, Doctor of Millennium Puraskar 2002, National Medical Excellence Award, Bajaj Discover Positive Health Hero Award 2010, Dr. Suresh Nadkarni Memorial Award by Maharashtra State IMA, Indian Medical Association 2011, Dr. Vasundhara Gupte Memorial Award by Indian Medical Association 2012, Social Service Award by Rotary Club, Purush Singha Puraskar, and many more, International Award and Leva Puraskar, and many more awards. So here we have Dr. Chopre with us to enlighten us a little more on genetics and answer some of our questions. So it's all your now.
Yeah. So good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Whatever applies to you. Namaskar. So in the last talk, we started with you and your genes. Before I continue the talk, I would like to acknowledge Atarde Foundation, the directors, managers, and organizers of Atarde Foundation. The foundation which is doing excellent, extraordinary work for the underprivileged in different corners of the world, especially in Maharashtra, and organizing such kind of talks for the general people, empowering public through knowledge, through service. Thank you so much. Pramod, my very good friend, and all the people who are associated with the foundation. So I feel privileged to talk on this topic. Last time, actually, I was so touched and moved by the questions, by the listening provided. I'm aware there were a lot many questions people had, and I was unable to answer those questions because of the irregularities in the connection, because of the interruptions due to the weak network. And I was requested to have a second part of this talk, and I'm here. So once again, I acknowledge you all for being here. I thank you all for being here to listen. I know you are interested in listening to the topic, genes and you and your genes. Just to recapitulate a little, what we talked about the topic last time. So what we talked about is what your genes are, what are they made up of, what is the nature and structure of the genes, how do you get the genes, what do they mean to you, why you are the way you are, why people are different from one another, why someone is so genius, why someone is mentally retarded, why someone is so beautiful, why someone is so ugly, and all sorts of variations that we see there in humans on the planet. Why is all that? The answer is your genes. And I also talked about, when we talk of you and your genes, I made it clear when I say you, I'm talking about the body, the mind, the feelings, the emotions that you have, the entity that you say who you are. When I ask you, who are you? I'm not talking of that you, which we talk of in spirituality as a pure consciousness or awareness. I'm not talking of that. There, I presented a question: is there any relationship between that you, the spiritual one, the awareness, the consciousness, and the genes and the script? That is again the topic of real interest in the world right now. To take this forward, I'll present some of the important aspects of my talk today. So I have some of the slides. I have about 25 slides, and I'm not going to present all the slides. I'll just touch upon a few of the slides so that we get more time for question answers. So I'll be talking for about next 40 minutes, and then we'll have 20 minutes for the question answers. So I'm sharing my screen. Please allow me to do that for within a minute, and then I'll continue. Actually, before I do that, I would want to see you all just to get connected so that I feel I'm in a hall where there are people, real people, and I'm talking to them. Can you please make your video on for a minute? That's great. Yeah, I'm really feeling that I'm in a hall and I'm speaking to big people, right? So thank you so much. So now I'm going to share my screen. Yeah. So can you see the screen, Pramod?
Yeah.
Good. So I'll begin my second part of this talk by reciting one excerpt from one of the very popular book today in the world called as Homo Deus, named as Homo Deus. The author is Yuval Harari. Most of you must be knowing him. The man who is invited everywhere for talking about what is going to happen. What is so right now, what is going to happen next. So the excerpt from his book, Homo Deus, is: humanity wakes up. At the dawn of the third millennium, humanity wakes up, stretches its arms, goes to the bathroom, washes the face, observes the wrinkles on the face in the mirror, makes a cup of coffee, and opens the diary to see what's there on the agenda today. What's there on the agenda today for the humanity? Let us look at these three images. We as humans for thousands and thousands of years have been dealing with three major questions. One was food. Millions and millions of people were dying in a young age and in childhood because of want of food, because of scarcity of food and water. So if you go to the history and just look at what was the scenario in the world, everywhere, people were dying because of want of food. Second question was, people were dying because of something, and they were not knowing what. They were not knowing why. Millions and millions of people within few days were dying because of something problematic there in the air, something problematic there in the water, something problematic there in their food, and they didn't know. They didn't know that. They didn't have a little idea about the microorganisms, viruses, bacteria, and fungi. A kind of pandemic that used to happen in different countries. Millions of people used to die and nobody knew what was happening. Within days, the cities were getting completely humanless? That was another question we were dealing with as humans. Third question that we were dealing with was, we were so scared about the attacks that were happening by the groups or the societies or the communities around us in different regions. When we will be getting attacked and killed by the enemies, we were not sure. They used to come and just kill us, just cut us with the instruments, and their millions of people used to die recklessly. It was so uncertain. For thousands of years, we had these three questions to answer. And the answer remained unchanged. Now, what is the scenario? Let me tell you first that we must acknowledge that we are living in a world which is most beautiful at this moment. The most beautiful world where we are experiencing. Most of us who are there on the call right now have seen the world before the technology and has seen and being a part of witnessing the technological revolution. We are living in the world where we have enough of food. We are living in the world where we are talking of living longer. If we just look at the statistics, why people are dying today, you will see that more people are dying because of overeating and not because of laxity. People are not dying because of want of food. People are dying because more people are dying because of overeating. More people are dying because of aging. They are not dying because of infections. Not that they are not dying because of infections, but if we talk of relatively, more and more people are dying because of aging and age-related disorders. More people are dying because of suicides. They are killing themselves than by killing by others, or violence, or wars. If you just look at how many people are dying on the planet every day doing suicides, this number is much, much more than people dying in violence. The scenario is completely changed. At the dawn of this third millennium, we all in toto, the humanity, is waking up to the amazing realization. What is that realization? The questions that we had for thousands and thousands of years, we have been capable to deal with the situation. We are able to control the infections. Right now, we are experiencing the pandemic, COVID. If you just look at how did we tackle it, we are actually blaming governments and the scientists and the communities and all those things. But then the reality is we all have survived this pandemic because of the ability to control it, because of the scientific revolution, because of the understanding we have of what virus is and how it spreads and how we can contain it. Had we not had that understanding or scientific revolution, possibly most of the people on this world would have been removed so far by COVID. So what I'm creating right now is that we have really controlled and brought under control famines, infections, and wars. And as we go ahead, the science as it is evolving, the technology as it is evolving, we will control this more and more and more. The question remains, then that we have established it, we have controlled major questions that we had been dealing for thousands and thousands of years. What is there at the top of the human agenda now? I hope you are getting me where I'm coming. What are we going to do with ourselves? We have to have certain questions to deal with. What will demand our attention and ingenuity? These are the questions. Now we are looking forward to the healthy, prosperous, and harmonious world. We never thought of that earlier because the life was the way it was. We could not do anything. Now we can do something about infections. We can do something about our food. We have enough of food. We can produce more of it. Now we want to live life happier, healthier, younger, longer. And where it is written in Origins. If I ask every one of you on this call right now, how long you would like to live and how would you like to live? I think the overall answer would be, I want to live longer, happier, healthier. I really don't know what will be your longer. What would you say when I ask you how longer? We'll talk about that. And that's why understanding the world of genetics has become urgent and important for every one of us. You don't have any choice to understand. You don't have any choice. If you don't understand, this technology is going to come in your home and it is going to attack you. Like, as I said, if you have been reading and listening to the news, there has been a moment happening in the world right now, which is anti-COVID, anti-vaccine movement. COVID, anti-vaccine. We all are waiting for the COVID vaccine to come in, right? And there is a big moment happening in the world which says, don't do that. Don't take those vaccines. We need to understand why are they saying that. They are saying with the fear that the vaccine which is getting produced for dealing with this COVID virus is going to get incorporated in our genes with the long-term disastrous consequences for our own existence. We need to understand it. We can't escape from knowing. We can't escape from understanding. So let us look at what we are talking. So what is so right now in the world of genetics? So as we talked last time, I said so many things about, I said, what happens when genes go wrong? What happens when God makes a mistake? If that is the language of God, if that is the language of nature, if that is the language of life. The script that we all have inherited from our parents, from mother and father. So to make it easy for those who have joined for this talk and they were absent for the earlier one, just imagine you got 2 books from your parents. One from your mother, other from your father. Egg and the sperm. Each book has 23 chapters. These chapters are our chromosomes. So we have got 46 chromosomes in 23 pairs from our parents. And the whole of the story that you are from beginning to end is written on that, written on those chromosomes, those chapters in the books of your life. Consider, imagine, each chapter has thousands and thousands of pages. Now we say there are about 21,300 pages. And on each page, there is a very specific message written. The language used to write those messages is the language of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. So I hope everyone present here understands. May I request someone who is using the screen to scribble? Can you stop it, please? We call these pages as genes. Anything going wrong in any one of the gene or on the chromosome is going to result into abnormality. That is what our knowledge is so far. That is what we are using for diagnosing the genetic disorders in the world. Let me present what are we doing right now in the world of medical genetics. This is what I am doing as a medical geneticist, what I am doing. So imagine I am taking a drop of your blood. You have millions of cells in one drop of your blood. Blood is one tissue. Your heart, your brain, your liver, your skin, your muscles, your everything, right? Kidneys. There are 220 different types of cells, and there are trillions and trillions of cells in your body, and all these cells are derived from the zygote, the beginning, the single cell, which was formed by the union of the egg and sperm. So if I take a drop of your blood, inside that there are millions of cells, and every cell has got the same genetic blueprint that you got from your parents, where everything about you, the whole story that you are from beginning to end is written. Now, what can I do with that drop of blood? I can test your chromosomes. I can test your whole DNA. I can test your genes. So let me make it little more clear for you to understand what a chromosome and a gene is, because we are going to relate to that subsequently. As I said, there are 23 pairs of chromosomes. Consider this is one chromosome. If I pull it here and here and pull it apart, it is a long thread of DNA, very long thread, on which from end to end there are letters. Nature has used only 4 biochemical letters, what we call as A, T, C, and G: adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. By using only those 4 letters, nature has written the whole story of your life, the whole story of all the humans on this planet, the whole story of the whole life on this planet, each and every life form. If I take a drop of your blood, inside that millions of cells, and every cell is having that whole story written. I can read that now. To make it clear what gene is and what that book is all about, so a chromosome which is extended this way from this end to this end, if I pull it very long, from this end to this end, there are millions of letters written on this. And maybe here there is small segment which is making one protein in my body. Here there is another one small segment which is making protein in my body. These proteins are doing the function which is expressed as my life, either as a structure or function that I exist, is made out of the protein. And these segments on this DNA are what we call as genes. The whole thing is the DNA. To give you some idea about what this DNA is, if I start typing the letters of DNA in the book of human life with the fastest speed I know, it will take me 50 years to complete typing this big that number is. It is said to be 3 billion letters. And out of this whole DNA, which is of 3 billion letters made up of, out of that, only 3% of the DNA is making our genes. Only 3% of this DNA is producing the proteins to make my structure and the function. The rest of the DNA is what we used to call so far as the junk DNA. And we have started revealing it is no more junk. It has got the whole story of your existence on this planet written in it. When I talk of a gene, I'm talking of a segment that we know is producing a particular protein. So let me give an example. Consider, for example, you all know about diabetes. Maybe some of you have diabetes. Diabetes happens because blood sugar is raised. Blood sugar is raised because it is not used in your cells inside your body where energy has to be produced. It is not utilized by the cells because what is required is insulin that is not in adequate amount. That is not produced in adequate amount by the cells in pancreas. Why it is not produced? Because the gene making the insulin is either defective, or there is some change, or there is some alteration, or the insulin which is produced is not properly received on those cells. Now, the gene means the segment of DNA where it is written how to make a gene. The region on the DNA where it is written in how much amount and in how much frequency it has to be made. If there is some problem, it is going to make inadequate insulin, and that is going to result into diabetes. There are some of the diabetic babies born at birth having diabetes mellitus, and since birth you have to give them, inject them insulin. Without that they cannot survive, they will die. That is called as insulin dependent diabetes, controlled by gene, and we can detect that. Now we can test that gene. So this is one example just to give you an idea about what a gene is. Let me give you some other idea what a gene is so that you can understand what I'm going to talk subsequently. That if you are a boy, you will become a man at the age of 13, 14, or 15. If you are a girl, you are going to become a woman after the age of 12 or 13. Meaning, the gene where it is written that a boy has to become a man is the gene of testosterone, where the amount has to be released in a specific amount. The amount has to be released in a specific quantity. After a certain age, it is like alarmed in your genes. Since you are born, the gene is there, but the gene is expressing only after a certain age, and it is producing that amount of testosterone which is necessary to make a boy a man. That you are going to get aged, that you are going to have hairs on your body, where, how many, of what color, how much of the vision you have to have, everything. Why, how you look like, how you grow, how you function, everything, all your potentials, everything is written in those genes. Now, that if I take a drop of your blood, I can check your whole DNA. Just imagine I have your whole DNA, means your book of life with me. I come to know where did you come from, who you are, who are you, where are you going to go. I come to know who are your parents. I come to know if you are going to have any disease. I come to know so many things about you as a biological entity on this planet. Whole genome sequencing is going to be the unique identity card in days to come in the world everywhere. So today we have in India the Aadhaar card. We consider that as a unique identification number. Now we are going to have our biological, just like earlier we used to talk of our thumb impression, right? Fingerprint. Now we are talking of our DNA fingerprint. The whole of it we can sequence, and that is so unique. Never ever it is going to be repeated again. You are so unique. It never happened. It is not right now. It is not going to happen again. That script I'm talking about, where I can tell you what to eat, what not to eat, what career you can choose, what sport you can choose, what is going to be a poison for you, what is going to be an elixir for you, what drugs are suitable for you, whether you are going to have any disease, and subsequently maybe in coming years I'll be able to talk about how long you are going to live. This information I'm talking about. And there are a number of laboratories in the world. I have been doing this practice. This is one part of the practice right now. I can test your individual gene. I can test your chromosomes. I can test your all genes. I can test your whole DNA. This is what is happening in the world of medical genetics, which I am practicing. Now, this must interest everyone. The other things that I am doing are, so what is the purpose of all this? The purpose is to diagnose the conditions which are not diagnosed by the conventional medical practice. So you'll come to know most of the time, patients are going to one doctor, then they go to another doctor, then they go to third doctor, and the doctors are unable to explain what it is. They are giving some treatment, they are doing some investigation, they can't explain what it is. Patients are not getting relief. Patients are getting upset. And then they get resigned. They go to Babas also, they do whatever they need to do, and still they are not getting results. These are the people where we need to look at. Is there anything wrong in the script itself? There are babies born every day with defect there in their genes or chromosomes. And you know what is the percentage? You will understand how lucky you are that you are perfect, whole and complete. At least about 3 to 5% of babies, 5%. Do you know how much is that number? Every day in the world, about 3.5 lakh babies are born. So about 20 to 30,000 babies are born with some or the other genetic disorder. I'll just give one example so that you understand. Just Pramod talked about Down syndrome. That is the organization I'm heading in India, Down Syndrome Care Association. Down syndrome babies have one extra chromosome, 21. So normally we have to have only 23 pairs of chromosomes, in which chromosome number 21 has to be in 2 copies. If there is 1/3 copy, it results into what we call as trisomy 21 or Down syndrome. And these babies are mentally retarded. They have number of disabilities. And In the world, every day, about 600 babies are born with only Down syndrome. And there are about 6,000 different genetic disorders in the world right now. Some of them are very rare, some of them are common. You are so lucky that you are born. You are so lucky you are alive. You are so lucky that you are healthy, mentally, physically fit. That is what we diagnose by testing the genes. If there is something wrong, just look at, is there anything wrong there in the gene or chromosome, and what is going to happen next? So that is how we look at life, what can happen and what can be done best to make that life happier, healthier, to make the people, the families and the individuals affected happy. How can we make that life worth living with or without treatment? So first thing is diagnosing it. What we do is, wherever there is a risk, if there is a lady who is pregnant and we know that she is at risk of having a child with such abnormality, we can test that baby during her pregnancy. We can take out the sample and then we test that and we find out whether the baby is affected or not. World over, we are detecting it, finding out, and if the baby is normal, we continue. If it is abnormal, we discontinue the pregnancy. That is what we are doing right now in the world. The laws allow that to prevent the birth of the genetically abnormal babies. We do predictive testing of people who are at risk of developing some diseases. There are diseases inherited there in the family from one to the next generation. And people don't want these diseases to be inherited in their subsequent generations. What we do is we test and find out whether you are at risk of having such diseases. And if yes, what can be done to avoid or to at least lessen the impact, lessen the complications, or to detect and treat it at the earliest. We are doing diagnostic, prognostic, and preventive services so far. So I'm not going to talk about everything in this section because this slide is cloudy and this is mainly for the medical professionals. I just look at some of the scenarios where it is applicable. And this is everywhere. In each and every home, this is applicable. So before marriage, it has to do with inheritance. Life has to pass from one to the next generation. Marriages are made for continuation of the life with healthy society. So in this society, for a couple to marry, we can check whether they are compatible at the genetic level, at the biological level. So when I say whether they are compatible or not at biological level, I'm talking about the inheritance. I'm talking about the continuity of the generations, whether they are compatible with each other at biological and genetic level or not. We can test that before marriage itself. So this is the talk that I have been talking in a number of conferences right now, and people are taking it like very powerfully. Yes, this is it we really want. What we have been doing for hundreds of years is we have been talking about the Kundali. We have been talking about the astrology. We have been talking about the palmistry. We have been talking about the date of birth. Now we can really talk about your biology. We can really talk about whether you are capable to be a father, capable to be a mother, and whether you both are capable to be the parents of a child, healthy child or not. There we look at whether they are at risk of having a child with genetic abnormality. We look at the couples who are unable to have babies. They are taking treatment, and despite of the treatment, they are not getting pregnancy, they are not having the babies. To look at, is there any problem with the genetic script itself? Is there any problem with the books of life, the vehicles of the life? Vehicles of life is egg and sperm. And what are they carrying are the genes. We need to look at, is there any basic problem there? About 15 to 18% of couples have somewhere problem in their genes or chromosomes, and that's why they are not having a baby. And we try in the infertility setups, IVF setups, doctors try pregnancies without results and having abnormal babies if they are not looking at the genes. If the lady is pregnant and sonography tells us, or there is a family history, or one of the partner is a carrier for some genetic disease, then we can test that baby. That is what prenatal is. In some families, the pregnancies are lost by recurrent miscarriages. Repeatedly, the lady is miscarrying. We need to look at where there is a basic problem with the concept of whether there is a basic problem with the baby itself, whether there is a basic problem with the genes and chromosomes. And then we can look at all the babies born and all the people alive on this planet who have compromised life either in physicality, mentality, or sociality. What I mean is there are so many issues. So you must be understanding some of the diseases. I will tell you one or two so that you can understand. As I said, there are about 5 to 6% of babies born with the genetic abnormalities. One example, world over, and India very common, which is thalassemia. The baby born with thalassemia is not having the enough hemoglobin because the red blood cells are unable to carry the oxygen from the lungs to the body cells. Every month you have to give the blood from outside. If you don't give, the baby will not survive. Very common disease, thalassemia. Some babies, they have heart defects. Some babies, they have their cut lips, and even there are a number of such abnormalities which can be seen on the face. There is mental retardation. Now, at birth, we see something. Then we see something in children. We see something in old age. In old age, you must have heard about Alzheimer's disease. People by the age of 60, about 1 to 2% of people by the age of 60, all they experience Alzheimer's. They experience loss of memory. There is degeneration of the brain happening because of the gene problem, which is there since beginning, but that expresses in old age. From birth and even before birth, till we die, everywhere genes are expressing, and their expression impact is different. Imagine a boy having defect in his testosterone gene. You see the baby born, you see the child born as a male, the boy is growing, you rear the child as a male, and after the age of 15 or even 20, you see the child is not showing any features of a maleness. Problem with the gene. It can express any time during our lifetime, and that is what we can test for, and that is what we can treat in some conditions. That is what we can counsel properly. We can see what can be done best in such situations. That is what we are doing right now in the world. Some of the things that are happening. Pramod?
Yeah.
So I would want to have more questions rather than I talking. So you can stop me now. It is 20:42. When do you want me to stop?
I think you can continue, Doctor, a little more. It's an interesting.
So I'll continue till 9, and then we'll have question answers for 20 more minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So right now we are doing in the world what we call as selective breeding. हमको चाहिए वैसा बच्चा. अभी चाहिए वैसा बच्चा तो बात की बात होगी. Right now we are talking about pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. So there are so many test tube baby centers world over. Doctors are creating the embryos in the laboratory, and they are discarding the faulty embryos and putting in the good ones that are in the mother's womb. So we are discarding it. We are selecting the breeding. We are doing pre-implantation genetic manipulations. We have started doing it. Most of you must have heard about the designer babies born last year in China. There was a lot of upset there in the world of science. For the Chinese scientist did something which we never imagined is going to happen very soon. The Chinese scientist injected a gene in the embryos, manipulated the genes of the embryos, designed the babies with the possibility of creating a baby the way we want it. Just imagine you want a baby with specific features, with specific height, specific color, specific nose, specific beauty, specific potentials. And that we have the technology available, you are making it happen. We are talking about that. Already it has happened in the world. And maybe it is happening at number of places. People are not revealing for the fear of getting caught by the law. We have started replacing the problematic genes with the normal copy of the genes. That is what is a part of the therapy. And that has already started, that is accepted. But creating a baby for the characters we want is a big ethical issue. But then we humans are such that something that we can't accept today, tomorrow we accept it so easily. Just like the IVF, the test tube babies. 40, 50 years back, when it was introduced, we were so upset and so, you can say, like uneasy. Aise kaise? How can we take God's work in our hands? How can we play God? And now today you say, in the city of Nasik, we have more than 20 IVF centers here. Like they are saying, don't go for the natural conceptions. We are there. You just marry and come to us. That is what is going to happen for designer babies also in coming days. Believe me. Though we are so skeptical today, though we are so upset today, though we are not ready to accept that idea of having designer babies, science is not going to stop. People are not going to stop. They are going to do it. And slowly you will accept it as a part of routine. So far, has anyone heard of having 3 parents biologically? Socially, we know, right? We know surrogacy also. But do you know a child born with 3 parents? Last year in London, it happened. What happened? Just you can look at this image. Now in this image, you can see here, this is the embryo in the IVF laboratory. The embryo was made from this couple. And in this embryo, you can see here the books of life of the parents, what we call as the nuclei, where there is a genetic material in the nucleus. And around that, there are the mitochondria. Those of you who don't understand what mitochondria is, just keep in mind, mitochondria we get only from the mother. And there are special genes in the mitochondria. So for me, my genes, which are making energy inside me, are given by my mother only. Now, if here the genes in the mitochondria are faulty, the child born out of this is going to have a disease. So what they did is, this embryo is made, then there is another donor embryo from another couple, and they removed this nucleus from this donor and put this nucleus of this couple of the faulty mitochondria to this embryo. And you can see here, now there is one nucleus from this man, this nucleus from this woman, and the mitochondria are from this woman. There are 3 parents biologically. What do we get from this? If this is possible, we can have 10 parents. What do I mean by that? We can just collect genes from this. I know this person is very strong physically. I can take out the genes. I know this person is genius. I can take out these genes and just mix those genes and create a, that is what we're talking about, the designer babies. Tomorrow we are going to have a menu card, just like you go there in the hotel and it is written, what do you want to eat? You go to the IVF center, you will get a menu card. What kind of baby you want? Though it seems to be so unbelievable at this moment, technology is moving in that direction only. We are already talking and doing stem cell treatments and induced pluripotent stem cell technology. Most of you must be aware about the stem cells and the treatments. It has been coming to the newspapers and news all the time. But let me talk about induced pluripotent stem cell technology. What do I understand by that? So in stem cell technology, most of you must be knowing that stem cells are collected from the baby's cord or the placenta. When the baby is born, his umbilical cord, his or her umbilical cord, in that there is a blood, that blood is collected, or the plastic, the umbilical cord itself is collected. And there are cells which have got the ability to make any tissue. That is what the routine stem cell and stem cell treatment is. Those are used to treat some diseases. Now, what are we talking about is inside your body, there are 220 different type of cell. I have a hair here, and this hair at the root has cells where in every cell it is written, who am I? My whole story is written there in every cell. But this hair cell knows only to make the hair. It doesn't know how to work as a heart cell. What I can do now is take out the hair cells in the laboratory and convert those hair cells into the heart cell. This is inducing the pluripotency. Pluripotency means ability to form any kind of tissue. So you can make your own kidney in the laboratory from your hair or your blood. That is the pluripotent stem cell technology already coming in the practice slowly, already implemented in agriculture and animals, veterinary. In humans, there are trials happening. You can wish to have your own organs made there in the laboratory. Last year in UK, they made the artificial liver in the laboratory itself. Now we are going to have an opportunity to make our own organs with a possibility of living longer. Cloning, most of you must have heard of. So if you have any question on cloning, we will discuss that subsequently. But then right now this is a big topic. Just to give you an idea, reproductive cloning is making the exact individual. Like you can see in this image, I can take your body cell, and I can make your another copy. That is what reproductive cloning is, and that is prohibited all over the world legally. Therapeutic cloning is if I take your body cell, and from that, if I create the embryo in the laboratory, from your body cell, I can take all that genetic material, all that script of your life, and put it in the embryo in the laboratory and create the embryo, the baby, the small baby. And from that small baby, I can take out the cells to make your organs. That is what therapeutic cloning is, to treat the diseases. So making your own copy in the laboratory to treat your body cells. So if your kidney is failed, if you want to transplant that kidney, you need to get it from someone else, and that has to match to your genes, right? That is what is happening right now. But if we make the kidney from your own body cells, there is no problem of mismatch, right? And that is what we are talking. Predictive testing, as I said, and this I also said last time. So the best example, because we don't understand it in other language, Angelina Jolie is the very famous example that we are quoting for predictive testing. What is the story? Angelina Jolie's mother and her mother's mother died of breast cancer at the age of 40, 45, something like that. And then she was told that this gene is inherited. This gene of cancer is inherited, and she was worried. She tested, and she was found to be carrying the same gene problem. What did she do? She removed both her breasts. She removed both the ovaries, because that gene is known to cause breast cancer and ovary cancer. How do we do that? She could die at the age of 45, 50 if she develops a cancer. She protected herself by removing her breasts and ovaries, because she came to know she is having that gene problem. This we can do by testing the genes and predicting whether someone is at risk of having a disease like a cancer, like a deadly cancer, or like Alzheimer's, or like Huntington's disease, or any kind of disease for that matter. Predictive testing is where we test your genes and predict. Now, the predictability is variable. For some of the diseases, the predictability is too high. So if I take your blood, I can tell you whether you are at risk of having a cancer, a specific kind of cancer, and at what risk you are. If the risk calculation is accurate, in a sense, in this case, as you can look at this, if a person is having one of these gene BRCA1 and BRCA2, the risk that that person will have a cancer of breast or ovary is 83%. This is very high predictability. Slowly, with genetic testing, we are coming up with a very accurate and high predictability for predicting the diseases that we are at risk of in our lifetime. That is what we are doing. We have started doing gene therapy. Now just imagine gene therapy. I'll give you just one example and you'll get the seriousness of that. Pramod is already in that inquiry because he had been talking about how we can do this and how we can do that. As I said, there are 6,000 diseases. Just talk of one example. There is a disease called as Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Muscular dystrophy, just for understanding. Muscular dystrophy means muscle weakness. Duchenne muscular dystrophy, the disease happens only in the boys. Generally, what happens when the child is born, up to 3-4 years, you will see that the baby is absolutely fine and normal. And then thereafter, you will see that the child is unable to run. Then you will find that the child is unable to walk. Then you will see that the baby is unable to get up from sitting. And slowly you will find that the baby is unable to move, bedridden by the age of 15. By the age of 20, 25, breathing and heart stops. There is death. This is because of the gene problem, what we call as dystrophin gene. Out of 21,300 genes, one gene mutated. And there are millions of boys right now there in the world with this disease. The whole world of genetics is trying to find out the solution for this because parents are so desperate, so anxious, so worried, so depressed because they see death every day. They somehow want to have a treatment and a solution for their baby. Those who know this year's Nobel Prize for biology was given to this CRISPR-Cas technology. This CRISPR-Cas technology is a technology which is being used for gene editing. Now just imagine, I have a book of your life and I can read it. I can cut something. I can paste something. I can rearrange something. I can rewrite the whole book. This technology makes that possible. CRISPR-Cas technology makes it possible to rewrite the script. If I just look at your genes and if I find out it is written that you are going to live for 80 years and you want to live 100 years, can I convert those into 80 into 100 by doing that editing? Is a question. It is written that you are going to have cancer, can have alter that so that you are not going to have cancer. CRISPR-Cas DNA editing technology, editing your life story, life book getting edited. Already this technology is in market. There are certain drugs already in market, though they are so costly right now. They are in millions of dollars. In coming days, they are going to be so common, they will come to you. You need to understand what are they talking about. We can turn on the dangerous mutation into the benign versions. That is what we really understand. We can understand, everyone can understand. This is what is required to prevent the deadly diseases, to protect ourselves, to deal with the conditions like stupidity, autism, obesity, depression, all these kinds of various diseases. That's okay. But then now we have started talking about enhancing our potentials. This CRISPR-Cas technology I was talking about, right? Now, I'll not go into this longevity. This is a very long topic, but then I'll come with a question. So, pharmacogenomics, personalized medicine is technology can tell you what medicine is best suitable for you and what dose for how long. That will not be the common medicine, only for you, for a particular disease. Nutrigenomics is by looking at your DNA, by looking at your genes, I can tell you what is poison for you and what is an elixir for you. What is good, what is bad for you. That is what nutrigenomics is. Anti-aging and longevity. Anti-aging is we don't want to age, meaning we don't want to have age-related disabilities or age-related diseases. We want to look younger, youthful. That is anti-aging. But longevity is, with that all, we want to live longer. And right now in the world, there is a movement happening. The moment is called as longevity movement, where we are looking at how we can live longer. Now, when I say longer, if you are asked how longer you want to live, would you say immortality or I don't want to die? Or would you say that I want to live 100 years or 150 years or 200 years or 500 years? The question unanswered. If you say yes, I want to live 200 years, the question comes, why do you want to live that long? What is the purpose of your life? That you are going to have a choice to live longer without disease is the truth. You have to just start thinking, why do I want to live longer and how long I want to live longer? How long I want to live. We are talking of upgrading our potentials. I will not talk about that right now. Most of you must have read the message, very viral message there in the WhatsApp that you are going to have a choice by the year 2045. You are going to have a choice whether to die or not. That is what I'm talking about, the anti-aging moment. We have actually found out some of the genes where it is written how long you can live, why you get aged, and we have also found out the genes why people live longer, when they live longer. Just as an example, you can look at this boy. Those of you who have seen the movie Pa, Amitabh Bachchan's Pa movie, by the age of 10, you will see that the child is having all the age-related diseases. A very fast aging is happening. You can see the face showing all the wrinkles and the abilities are getting reduced. There is neurodegeneration happening. Heart is showing, there is hypertension happening. Heart attacks also happen. There are so many things happening by the age of 10, 15. That is progeria, the disease. And we know what genes cause that. And now we are talking about how we can reverse that. There is a drug approved in USA very recently, that was in November 20 itself, which can extend the life of this particular boy. You can expect to have this kind of anti-aging and longevity gene therapy or manipulation in the coming years. But as I said, the question is the same. What is the question? With this existing lifespan that we have of 70 or 80, most of us humans are upset, unsatisfied. We say, what to do now? Everything is done. There is nothing left. Why do you want to live 100 and 150 and 200 then? What is the purpose? What is the context of living? Here is something which is very powerful that inspired me, and that is what I'm quoting here. George Bernard Shaw, he said once, this is a true joy in life. This is a true joy in life when your being is used for fulfilling on the purpose that you recognize yourself as mighty one. You yourself have recognized something which is much bigger than who you are, and you are using your existence, your being, for fulfilling on that. Then there is joy. If you have that purpose and if you are enjoying that life, yes, you have the right, and there is it is worth living that long life. What is happening right now, most of us are living like we are so feverish, upset all the time. We are so small, selfish, little human beings having lot many elements, complaining all the time that the world is not supporting me. If that is what we are doing, why do we want to live longer then? If the purpose is to enjoy, to have that joy, you ask those who have that joy, and this is what it is. With that, let me come to an end. So we are discovering anything and everything that is related with life through genetic discoveries. And now there are scientists who have discovered something, and they are claiming that they have discovered something where it is written how to live longer with youthfulness. Genes and epigenetics is another topic that we can have, something where it tells you whether you have a choice to live your life. What I mean to say is, the question is, everything that we experience and live is controlled by our genes? If it is so, then do we have any choice? Do we have any say in our life? These are the questions to be answered. And the answer is yes, we do have a choice. We can control our genes to a certain extent for sure. And that control can happen because of what we eat, where we live, how we sleep, what we think, what we don't, what we do, and what we don't do. All that is what we call as epigenetics. Genetics is dealing with the structure of the genes, what is written there. It is relatively permanent, whereas epigenetics is reversible change that can happen because of your habits, because of the exercise, because of the infections, because of the nutrition, because of the environment, and all those conditions. So I'll not talk about this also, because this is again one of the very important, but then the long topic. So in conclusion, I'll say only one thing. Just try to get it, at least a little, at the level where you will be able to understand what they say, at the level where you will understand what is coming in, what they are bringing to you in your home without you asking you. You need to understand at least what the DNA is, what the genes are, what the chromosomes are. They are going to do it with you. Gene therapies are coming in. The Mediclaim people, looking at your script, looking at your DNA fingerprinting or your risks of diseases, either will give or will not give you the benefits. You might be discriminated. You need to understand at least to that level where you can really have some say. With this, I stop here, and I really want to thank you all for so much patient listening, so much of the attention, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, everyone. Now I'm here to give answers to your questions if you have any.
Thank you, Doctor. Thanks a lot for this is an awesome lecture and in a very simple language on a complex topic. And there are two questions till now.
Yeah.
I'll read out the first question. Autism is a genetic problem. I mean, is it a genetic problem?
Yeah. So autism is the multifactorial condition, we say. In some of the autism cases, we clearly see the genetic problem. In some of the autism conditions, we don't clearly see the genetic problem. It is a developmental disorder for sure. This is creating a problem with the brain development and the brain function. Most of the cases, slowly now we are understanding, most of the autism is caused because of genetic problems. Some of the cases of autism are not detectable at genetic level. But yes, you can say it is genetic. Though we are not able to detect gene problems in every case, you can say it is genetic. Yeah.
I think uh, please speak on your own hope from the study for yourself. What do you expect for your very near future?
So this is a personal question, right? So what do I expect for my personal for
Yes, sir.
my
Yes, sir.
future?
I'm really very much interested to know your own interest, because you are so studious in the field of genetics. And how do you look forward to your near future? I mean, would you like to know yourself that whether you would be disease free, or whether you would be caught by some particular disease, and in such context, in such connection, what kind of test would you go under, and how would you try to control it, and what would be, and again, from spiritual and philosophical point of view, most important aspect of this question is, why would you expect some longer years of life for yourself own? uh, you know, it is quite interesting, because it is in context of you, the studious, the scholar.
Yes. So Deepak Kumarji, this is really a very powerful question in itself. The question itself is so powerful. Yeah. So I'll try to answer this in one statement. Right now, who I am is someone who really want to make a difference in the world around. And I would definitely want to live longer. I would definitely want to live healthier and happier. And I would like to make that available to the loved ones and the society around me. And that is going to be possible only when I'm healthy. That is one aspect of this. Now, how long is a question? Given a choice, because the context is such, I would like to live again longer, but how longer I can't define at this moment. And I think that's a question which we all will find very difficult to answer in coming years. How long? Now, looking at whether would I like to test myself and what would I do with the tests that I did. Right now, I am not looking at testing myself for a simple reason. The tests are not to that level. They are not giving me the accuracy which can give me predictability value based on which I can take decisions. Most of the tests are creating havoc. I'll give you one example. One of the big company in Maharashtra, I will not name, 8-10 years back, the company was started and the company advertised in all the big newspapers in India on front page that they are going to test everyone, or they are offering the test and making people know whether they are at risk of some diseases. They made it compulsory in some schools and they claimed that they will tell you what diseases you are at risk. The reports were so big, and in the reports, for every person, there were 10, 15 red marks telling that you are at risk of this disease. I did my test that time, that was done by the company free for me. I did that, and there 8-10 places it was written red, where it was stated you are at risk of something. Now, for me as a geneticist, I can understand what that risk means. For a common man, they won't understand it. When you are talking of 1% risk or 10% risk or 20% risk, or you are talking of you are at a little higher risk than the common public, anything you are talking that you are at risk, it is going to create panic in the mind of the people. For most of the conditions that time, nothing could have been done. Nothing we were able to do that time. Now also, for most of the conditions, we can't do anything. Maybe in future we will do something about it. Maybe in the future the predictability value will go high. That time I'll definitely think of it. Right now I don't. I recommend that in families where there is a real very high chance of inheritance of a particular condition, and the predictability value is very high, not the general predictability testing. I hope I answered your question.
Dr. Saab.
Very greatly answered, sir, and I hope your answer would summarize the whole of this seminar. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next,
Dr. Saab, can we know where this premature compatibility assessment test, where this genetic health care services are provided?
So where are you located?
I'm in Hyderabad.
You are in Hyderabad. So in Hyderabad, there is CDFD, CCMB. CCMB is one of the national Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology.
Is it oh, Malakpet?
Uppal Road.
Oh.
We have
And moreover, what is this stem cell treatment? What is the stem cell treatment you told?
so right now stem cell treatments are in trials. Stem cell treatments are not really giving results. Whatever results are claimed are not verified. There is a lot of potential in stem cell treatments, but right now I don't recommend any kind of stem cell treatment in any genetic disease.
And moreover, this designer babies you told, that was already in China they have done. But
Right.
is it the government will agree for that
They did it.
designer?
And there is an ethical debate still going on. There is legal debate still going on, not only in China, but throughout the world, whether we should go ahead with that. Now, let me tell you, in the world, there are so many laboratories and so many things happening, not that all the things come to our reading and hearing. There must be somewhere something happening. We are not aware of that. And that is how the things happen in the world. First designer baby born, and when it was born, then it was declared. Maybe there are clones also, we are not aware.
Okay.
Doctor, we have a next question.
Yeah.
Can our genes also dominate how we process our thoughts?
Yeah. Our genes can dominate how we process our thoughts. That's the potential of processing the thoughts. What thoughts do we have? What thoughts do we entertain and we allow is not the part of the genes. But how do we process the thoughts? The ability to process, analytical ability, that ability is controlled by biology, by genes. Now, when we talk of thoughts, there are all the spiritual processes which are working on this. How can I control my thought process? How can I control my mind? Whether expression of mind is the function of the gene is a question. Whether your consciousness, which can control everything, or which can get detached from the whole of it, the mind and the thoughts and thought processes, is associated with genes is also a question. Now, those who have this question, I would recommend you to read one of the books, which is very powerful. I'm not getting the name of that book right now, but then the book where they have, for the last 50 years, been analyzing how we humans are different than the monkeys. How we humans are different than the humans 10,000 years back. Is the ability to control my mind with me. Where is it located in the brain? Is it at all located in the brain? If it is, where it is located? If we can locate it somewhere, we can say it is controlled by genes. So far, we have been investigating in neuroscience and genetics how someone who becomes a sant, or someone who is enlightened, or someone who becomes the Buddha, what is there in that person's development that makes him enlightened and the others not enlightened? Has it to do with the biology? These are the questions we still are in the inquiry, and we are expecting the answers from the biological perspective very soon. I am in that inquiry myself. And we can have a separate talk on that. Really speaking, the whole world right now is in looking at what is the purpose. What is the purpose of my existence? What is the purpose of existence of all the humans and the life on this planet? Is that related to the gene, that marvelous molecule which is existing only on this planet Earth? Is that consciousness confined only to this planet? If it is confined only to this planet, then yes, it is related to that DNA. If it is not, it has nothing to do with the DNA then. That's why I said that day. I clarified to begin with. When I said you and your genes, the you I said was the you referred to when I asked you who are you. Your body, your sensations, your emotions, your thoughts, your thought processes, your ego, all that taken together is that you I am addressing here. I am not addressing that you which can see this you from top. I am not addressing that awareness or consciousness. That can be addressed. That requires a special investigation. We can have a separate talk for that.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah.
Next question is it possible as of today to reverse problems caused by genetics using genetic modification?
Yeah, so there are a number of trials happening. That is what I said. Genetic problems, as I said, like genetic diseases are caused because of the genetic problems. So what do we say? What we talk of genetic problem is like we expect something to be a particular way. For example, a child is born. We want to see the child either as a boy or a girl. We don't want to see the child as boy and girl. When we see the child is born with both boy and girl genitals, we get confused. And then we look at what is the problem. We can see there in the genes. We can see, is it written there in the genes that it has to be, the person has to be both boy and girl? Now, can we do anything about it? Yes, we are doing many things about it right now at surgical level, right now at biological level, right now at emotional level. Now, subsequently, we are going to do that at genetic level. We know what the problem is. Now we know what the techniques are. We know what the genes are. Actually doing it is in the process of investigation. That is in trials. This is true for nearly all the diseases. How long it will take for the trials to be converted into real practice, we don't know. Maybe in coming few years, it might take number of years also, because these are real critical investigations for us human beings. Yes.
Thank you, Doctor. And I think that is the one reason, Doctor, I reached out to you and we were talking about some of the disorders to look into some.
Yes, Pramod. And there is a lot of potential in that. There is a lot of scope.
Okay, so it's a different topic. But next question is, sir, any solution for NF2?
Pardon me?
Any solution for NF2?
NF2 is it neurofibromatosis? Who is talking about that? Is it neurofibromatosis too? Is it Ravindra Bharat?
Yeah,
Ravindra. Ravindra, can you clarify what you mean by NF2? Is it neurofibromatosis you are referring to? Hello? Ravindra?
He's not there.
Yeah, he's there. I can see.
Yeah, he's there.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if it is neurofibromatosis, right now, as such, there is no solution, because neurofibromatosis is a condition wherein, because of the gene problems, there are tumors happening along the nerves. The nerves which carry our sensations from our body to our brain, the nerves which carry all the instructions from our brain to our body, those nerves, they are going to have tumors. And if the tumors are going to be larger and more in number, then it causes a real problem. If they are smaller and less in number, it doesn't cause any problem. There are a number of patients I see where there are tumors, but they are not affected by any tumor. No treatment is required in that case. Where there is a larger tumor pressing somewhere or altering the sensations or altering the muscle power, there we need to do something, and surgically we can do. So as far as gene therapy is concerned, right now we don't have any gene therapy, but as far as treatment is concerned, yes, it is there.
So the next question is, does such research on genetics study done in India?
Which research?
Genetic study.
So I am a geneticist. I don't know who is asking the question. So let me tell you, I am a medical geneticist. I am practicing genetics for the last 25 years. I am doing research, though our research is limited to a certain extent. But yes, we are doing it.
Okay. Next question is, if Ayurvedic and yogic diet, lifestyle, panchakarma are followed with the genetic constitution. No, sorry. I'll repeat. If Ayurvedic and yogic diet, lifestyle, panchakarma are followed, will the genetic constitution take a positive turn? If yes, what is the minimum period taken to change a gene? Dr. Yogesh Shinde, working
Dr.
cancer
Yogesh
research through Ayurveda.
Okay, doctor, this is really a beautiful question, and I would like to address this question in much more details if you have some time subsequently. Right now, I'll just tell you, yes, it does. It definitely alters the expression of the genes, and you can experience that within 8 days. If you do the yogic kriya, within 8 days, you will find you have control on your muscles, you have control on your sleep, you have control on your mind, you have control on your diet and everything. It definitely makes change with the expression of the genes. That is what we say, and I say epigenetics. What to eat, when to eat, how to eat, how much to eat, when to sleep, how to sleep, how much to sleep, how to sleep, what to do, what not to do. These are the questions that we have been investigating in. That is what the whole philosophy is. All religious philosophies, all spiritualities are based on that, to control your mind. And for that, controlling your diet, controlling your habits, controlling your lifestyle, controlling what to talk, what not to talk, having control on your mind. Within 8 days, that makes a difference. And yes, can it change the DNA? No, it doesn't change the DNA, but it changes the expression of the DNA. It changes the expression of the genes to a certain level for sure. With yogic practice, you can see people on an average, if are living for 70 years, people with yogic practices can live for 90 or 100 years. So there is a change, definitely. But then this is not eternal. Again, there is a limit. We need to understand that this definitely makes our life smooth and happy. It makes the life worthy. It makes life efficient and effective at all the possible levels. And that is what epigenetics is all about. That's why we say we have the fate, and we say we can create our fate. We can create the future. Some people say it is destiny. We can't do anything about it. And that's what genetics statement is all about. We can't do anything about the genes. That's it. But what we can do is we can alter the expression of the genes. If you start smoking right now, if you see 100 people started smoking, within 10 years, you will find that some of them, they are having cancers. And most of those who are not smoking, they are not having. Those who are smoking, they are having a lot of limitation in their physicality, in their breathing, in their abilities, in their thinking. That is how the genes are getting expressed. The genes are suppressed by the smoke. The genes are suppressed by the drinks, the alcohol. The genes are suppressed by so many things that we put in as a garbage. Whereas yogic philosophy, yogic practices are actually related to expressing the good quality genes and suppressing the bad quality genes. For something to become a habit, it has to have a long-term impact on the expression of that gene. That is what my study is right now. So I hope I could answer your question, though in brief.
Yeah, thank you, doctor. We probably can have a separate session on expression of genes, which is
the beautiful question.
So the next question is,
I have one question.
post it because we have several questions here. If you have a question, maybe you can put it in the chat, because there are several questions already asked by some people. The next question is, can genetic study help for finding medicine for corona?
That's what I was talking about. So the vaccine they are talking about right now, the vaccine which is being released, is based on the genetic technology. That's the RNA vaccine.
RNA vaccine.
This is the genetic technology only that we are trying to use to produce the vaccine now. And that's why there is a lot of anti-vaccine movement happening. Some people are so much afraid that if we use this vaccine, which is going to be incorporated inside the cells, possibly might have a long-term complication on us humans that we don't want. Possibly that vaccine, which is the RNA inside our cells, is going to do something that we don't realize right now. It might have the impact subsequently after some years. Yeah, so we are using that.
Okay. Thank you, doctor. So next question is, do natural food make any changes to our gene or can stop DMD?
Yeah. So no food can stop DMD. DMD, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, is caused by the mutation there in the gene. Food, natural food, or what we call as a food rich in the ingredients, definitely delay the occurrence of weakness, delay the weakness in the muscles. That definitely enhances the, you can say, the overall being of the person. But then it cannot correct the gene. It cannot retard the weakness. Is that DMD, right? That's
Yeah.
what he's.
Yeah, DMD. So the next question is, can medication help to reduce the genetic disease?
Yeah. Medication can help to reduce genetic disease in a sense. We can reduce the impact of the genetic disease. I'll tell you the example. As I said, children born with thalassemia. Thalassemia is a condition where the hemoglobin in the red blood cells is defective. And the children having that disease are unable to carry enough oxygen from their lungs to their body cells. And the children become weak. So if you don't give blood from outside, the child will die. So we are giving treatment and we are trying to prevent the complication caused by that genetic defect. But we don't have the treatment to reverse that defect right now. There is a stem cell treatment being offered to the thalassemia patients with some relief. We are giving blood with some relief. Can we cure? Can we reverse, change that DNA? There are trials happening, and possibly very soon we are going to have that in practice. But right now it is not in practice.
Thank you, doctor. So here is a question I think you already answered, but I'll still read the question. Is it possible?
Doctor,
Is it possible?
Dr. Saab,
Yeah. Who is this?
these simple health concerns like autism, stupidity, obesity, depression, they can be cured by this technology.
I think we have some question, Mr. Das. Can you just put in a wait? Can you just wait for a minute until we finish?
Yes, Pramod. Yeah, Mr. Das, I'll just answer your question. Let these questions get finished. Yes, Pramod.
Yeah, so is it possible, this you already answered this in other way, but I'll still read out. Is it possible to change original nature of genes by thought process?
As I said, expression, yes.
Yeah.
Nature, in a sense, structure cannot be changed, but the expression can be changed. Now, let me tell you, when I'm talking of this change, I'm talking of how much of the protein is to be produced, which protein is to be produced, when it has to be produced. Now, as again, the example I gave of diabetes mellitus, you might have seen some people who alter their state of health by their habits. Some people keep on taking the medicines. Some people without medicines alter their state. This happens. This can happen to a certain extent. We need to understand that. The expression of the genes that we want expressed can be altered through all those spiritual procedures, can be altered through even your thought processes, can be altered even through your beliefs. Let me give a simple example. So day-to-day life example. Now, if you have a tiger in front of you, you are afraid of it, right? There is a lot of trembling and sweating and you are seized. Why this happens? Inside your body, there is some chemical released which keeps you stuck. Your mind doesn't work. Your body doesn't work. You are immobilized. And where is this released from? It is released from your body cells. How is it released? There is a gene making that protein. Now that if you are really afraid of a tiger, that fear in your head is going to trigger that gene and express it as a fear. But if you don't have fear, then it will not. And that is within our control. That's why we talk of all those spiritual processes, all those, you can say, the motivational processes, how to become confident, how to become happy, how to become powerful, how to become courageous. All these are the biochemical dramas happening within, right? When you are angry, there is something happening inside your body at a molecular level, at the biochemical level, and that we can test and show you. We can show you at least something that you can yourself experience. We can show you your breathing is fast. We can show you your heart rate is fast. Your heart is beating very faster. There is a lot of sweat coming out. There is a lot of chemical transmission happening within your body through the nerves, reaching to different destinations and causing what you see, you as getting angry. That's a biochemical drama. And that biochemical drama is happening because of your genes. The genes are triggered to release something. The trigger is there in your belief or your thinking. The trigger is there in your thought process. If there is something which is going to kill you, it is going to create that fear, and that is going to release all those fearful molecules which are going to express as the fear. So yes, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your beliefs, all that is what I was saying was epigenetics. Food that you eat, the environment where you live in, the medicines that you take, the infections that you are exposed to, the temperature that you are exposed to, your sleep, everything impacts the expression of your genes. Try to not to sleep for 3 days. See what happens with your genes. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
Hope you are. And if really, Pramod, I would really like to talk on that in a very length.
Yeah.
Because this is something where we have a choice.
Yes. Yes, Doctor. We'll schedule a call
Yeah.
on epigenetics. So, and thanks for that, and thanks for finding a time for all these things, in your busy schedule.
A privilege. I really enjoy this.
So the next question is, one of my friend is having a muscular dystrophy. Can we have a remedy for it now?
Yeah, this is the question of Vikram, right?
Yeah. Next question is, does the vibration frequency on certain create impact on DNA? Or in the other word, does the mantra have certain vibrations that can change the DNA?
Does the vibration frequency of certain, yeah, definitely that can. So when we're talking of DNA changes, right, in the structure, frequencies of various sorts, whether they are created by sound or whether they are created by some radiation, yes, it can change the structure of the DNA, even expression of DNA. Now, let me give an example. The Nagasaki event, right? It happened so many years back, and still we see the impact. That impact is inherited in the genes. That's through the frequencies. These are the frequencies created by those atoms in the body cells of all those who were exposed. To some extent, that is inherited to the generations, subsequent generations. Yes, vibrations do cause. Vikram, are you there?
Yes, I am there.
So you got
And
that?
yes, I got that. Thank you for creating so wonderful session and inviting me for this session. I
You're
have
welcome.
also one question.
Yeah.
Does that Gayatri Mantra vibration creates an impact on our DNA?
Any kind of vibration, that is one thing. Intention resides self impact on the DNA. Expression, not the DNA structure. Okay.
Okay, got it.
Expression. When you are chanting, you have some intention of chanting. And that intention itself is causing the change in the expression of the DNA in a positive way. Vibration
Okay.
has another impact. Yes, it has.
The next question, Doctor.
Yeah.
On the note of vaccination, what is your personal point of view regarding getting so-called vaccination these days for each and every new virus that comes in a few years? Most of us know the fact about these viruses. There is a big doubt about their origin. People are scared to talk about reality. So the
Yes.
question is, what are
Very,
yeah,
very nice question. Yes, Aparna.
yeah.
Actually, if you just look at, most of us on this call are alive because of the medications, because of the vaccinations that we really got so far. Most of us are alive because of that. Most of us are alive because of the scientific revelations that happened so far. Now, whether there is a reality in the vaccine process itself, vaccination procedure itself, and the recommendation, whether do we really need to take them or not. If you just look at the statistics in the world, what was the scenario when there was no polio vaccine, and what is the scenario when there is polio vaccine? Now we have eradicated polio from the world. We have seen ourselves, we have witnessed people in our locality, in our gullies having polio when they were not vaccinated. We have seen our parents and our grandparents being impacted by the cowpox, smallpox. Now we don't see anyone. I hope you are getting what I'm saying. About viruses, now science is what we all have to accept. We don't have a choice. As the individual, you have to believe your government, you have to believe the science, you have to believe your teachers. Without you having trust on these three, you cannot live happily, because you can't escape that. Now, what I mean to say is, if you really are into the inquiry, is there any truth in those vaccinations? You can go into that inquiry. You can do these studies. You can find out the reality. That's for sure. You can do that. But without investigation, you have to believe. You have to just trust them. For a simple reason, we are alive because of all that. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Doctor. So the next question is, do you think chanting mantras contribute to changing genetic expressions, and how?
Yeah, that is what I just
Yeah,
explained.
you already explained that.
Chanting mantra, see, so I said two things. One is the meaning of the mantra. So if you have in your mind, you are saying, सबका भला हो, आप इतना ही बोल दो, मान लो, सबका भला हो. So what is happening in your head, what is happening in your mind, what is happening in your body, you can experience that. And that experience is coming out of some biochemical drama inside. That biochemical drama is created out of the meaning that you receive here. That is one part of it. Second part is when you chant. If you are chanting it from that perspective, you will see it is just like singing. And singing in itself is some meditative process where all the biochemical drama is streamlined. Now, when I'm saying that biochemical drama, I'm talking about the gene expressing in a specific way. Yes, that has the impact. It has a positive impact on the gene expression.
Yeah, excuse me, Pramod. So this was my question in relation to this. I just wanted to know that number of times that the mantra is chanted, like most of the mantras are chanted for say 108 times, right? So does that number of times also has any significance on having change on the expressions of
No any
genetics?
scientific study which says about that, but what I know is for you to cut a tree, you need to hit it with a certain numbers with the sickle, right? झाडाला तोडायचं असेल तर तुम्हाला कुऱ्हाडीने त्याच्यावरती दणके मारावे लागतील आणि त्याचा एक स्पेसिफिक नंबर असेल. किती एनर्जीने मारता याच्यावर डिपेंड करेल. तसं फॉर यू टू हॅव दॅट इम्पॅक्ट ऑन यू, हाऊ इंटेन्सली यू आर चॅन्टिंग दॅट will have that impact on you, and then the number will definitely. So on an average, what they did for hundreds and hundreds of years is they saw they get the impact when it is chanted 108 times. आपको अगर enlightenment चाहिए तो enlightenment can happen in few years for some people, and as they say, enlightenment might not happen for years together or generations or lives together. That depends on the intensity with which you are doing something. On an average, that is what they say. So if I want you to get out of some disease, out of some illness, how intentional you are in getting out of it will decide how many days you will take to come out of it. I hope I'm clear here.
Very good answer.
Yes, yes, got it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, Dipali, thank you.
So the next question is, does the EMF radiation and 5G wireless signal impact sleep and human physiology? What way to keep safe from this if all it is true? EMF and 5G wireless.
Yeah, Hiren, I don't really have any scientific study on this, but I can tell you something. Anything and everything can impact you, including the water that you drink, the pure water that you get out of your filter, including the air that you breathe in. If you breathe more or less, that also going to impact. Anything more or less than expected is going to cause it. Now, we really don't know how much of that radiation is going to, and how much of that wireless signal is impacting our existence, sleep, and the physiology. It really requires many studies on a very large platform for a longer time. अभी तक हम लोगों को इतना स्टडी हुआ ही नहीं है. कोई लोग बोलते हैं कि इम्पैक्ट होता है, कोई लोग बोलते नहीं होता है. Now for us to create a scientific truth also takes some time. In fact, when we talk of the reality, we are talking of the reality which is very close to the absolute reality, and it takes time for us to reach that absolute reality, even in science. So you might have seen sometimes that what we say today in science, tomorrow it becomes false. Somebody else said no, it is wrong. Third day again somebody comes and says something else, and then we accept that. So we have to go through that process. We have to accept, like, what is going to happen when a test tube baby is being born, what is going to happen when a clone is being born. So we had to wait till, have you heard of the clone of Dolly? Dolly, the ship that was born in 1996 in UK, Scotland particularly. And we were skeptical, what is going to happen to that clone? Because we didn't know how long that will live. Is she going to have some diseases? Will she be exactly like her mother? So for us to get the reality or closer to the reality, it takes time. And we are not that far from the reality. We are not that far by using this technology to get the reality. It might take some time for us to come to the reality.
So the next question is, can change in genetic expression be demonstrated objectively?
Yes, there is a technique what we call as methylation, and we can study methylation. What I mean by that, on our DNA, so consider when we talk of the book of life, there are pages, right? And there are 21,300 pages, just imagine for now. And the same pages are there in the book of your heart cell, the same pages are there in the book of your kidney cell, the same pages are there in the book of your hair cell. But in your heart cell, only few pages are on, and all other pages are off, switched off. Consider कि उसके ऊपर ink dal diya. You can't read them. They are there. It is written there, but you cannot read them. That is what we call as switching off of the gene. In a heart cell, only those genes are switched on which are necessary for a heart cell to function. There are other genes, but these are switched off. Now, this is what we call as methylation. The other genes are switched off is methylation, and we can study that. We can see that. We can do that in a laboratory now. That is what I was talking about, the induced pluripotent stem cell technology. I can take your hair cell, convert it into a heart cell. This is altering the expression of genes. I want some gene switched on and others switched off. I can do that in the laboratory. That is what epigenetics is all about. And that is what the technology we are using in the pluripotent stem cell technologies. Yes.
Thank you, doctor. As a last, I think it's clear from your own example that scientific mind requires a philosophical perspective as well. Okay, so it's not a question.
Without philosophical background, it is very difficult to interpret science in humanity. Science cannot exist alone. It has to exist in context of the humanity, and that requires a philosophical perspective. Thank you so much, Deepak Kumar.
These are the questions, doctor, till for today. I think this session, not I think, everyone really enjoyed the session. There are several messages. You explained it absolutely in a simple layman language. Made it interesting to everyone. Stay long till long time. Almost 75 plus people were there till last minute. And if you are ready, I would be happy if you can talk about epigenetics and how.
I would definitely love to. That's a topic very close to my heart. Pramod.
Yeah.
Right now, I am in a process of developing myself as a human being who can transform the world around. I have a knowledge of genetics at one end, and I'm developing myself at other end, and I'm seeing the connectivity.
I know that, doctor, very well.
And I can relate to that very powerfully with the newer technologies, and particularly epigenetics, where we all are dealing in day-to-day life. Daily, we are doing something with our own self, without our understanding, without knowing what we are doing with our own self. I really want to contribute tremendously there at world level. I don't know how much will I do, but I definitely want to do that.
Excellent. I think we will put like in a 3-4 weeks, I'll schedule with you the call, and then we'll invite again the same people.
Pramod. Yeah.
Thank you once again. Thanks once again from everyone on everybody's behalf and
So,
from the foundation.
Again, I'm really thankful to every one of you for being here, for being so attentive, for providing this kind of listening, for actually giving me an opportunity to express my views, not only scientific, but even philosophical and spiritual. I'm in that inquiry, and I really need an audience like this to listen to me. I'm so much thankful to every one of you. Thank you, Pramod. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll stay here until the last person leaves, so that if someone has any question, they can still post it.
Yeah.
Also thank to the organization who created this platform and this topic. So thank you for this foundation also.
Thank you. You're welcome, sir. So there is one question, doctor. Does mechanical force application changes the gene function? I don't know.
Now, at what level it is applied, definitely that matters. So if you look at the structure of the DNA, there are biomolecules. If you apply the pressure there, yes, it will. And that's what we do in genetic manipulations. If you're talking of mechanical applications at bigger levels, yes, to a certain extent. You are pushing or pulling something. You are damaging their contacts, you are damaging the structure, you are damaging the expressions. Yes.
There's one more question, doctor. Is stammering a genetic problem?
Sorry. Is?
Stammering.
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 Yeah. So in some of the conditions, yes, some of the stammering is mainly caused because of the fears in early childhood. So you will see some of the babies with stammering, they have other associated problems, and that is genetic in origin. So we know genetic disorders where there is stammering, one as the expression. Whereas most of the stammering is caused because of something happened during their childhood, which had a big blow on their expression. So people tend to stammer whenever there is a fearful situation or they are afraid what people will say. Kaun kya bolega? I hope I answered that. Gajanan?
Yeah. So much. Okay. Is ADHD a genetic problem?
ADHD is a genetic problem. Again, similar to this thing, stammering. In most of the conditions, ADHD is one of the expression of the genetic disorders. In other conditions, you can just look at that term, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And let me tell you, most of you also might have gone through that sometime or other time in your life. So you had that attention deficit and you had that hyperactivity also. So where ADHD is limited to time, yes, it is psychological mainly and behavioral mainly. Where it is a permanent expression, it is genetic in origin.
I think that's the last question was. There is one more somebody posted. Is there any institute or lab which provided assistance for research?
Yeah, Dr. Yogesh, where are you located?
I am located in Pune, sir. Pune.
Okay. So in Pune, there is lab. There is central government institution. Yeah, that's nearby the university. You can just find out.
Yes.
Yeah, they are doing many projects, central government projects in genetics and biology.
I think someone asked question, but you replied, can we control age-related degeneration?
That needs to be investigated. Like when we talk of muscular degeneration, there are hundreds of types of muscular degeneration. Muscular degeneration can happen simply because of plastering. If you are plastering or you are not using your limb, it can degenerate. And it can happen because of genetic condition also. It can happen because of the damage at physical level also. So depending on what the diagnosis is, we can think of whether we can control or we cannot.
I think that's it. I think we should close now. It's already 2 hours. You gave a lot of time, doctor. We initially planned for only for 1 hour and then 45 minutes and 15 minutes for question answer. Like 2 तास एवढ्या busy schedule मधून काढायला. It's really grateful. We all are grateful to you.
Thank you so much, Pramod. You are welcome and thank you so much. And I really enjoyed this. Yeah, I once again thank everyone on this call. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, doctor.
Yeah.
So close this call now.